action.
Thank you very much for joining us again, everybody. This is part 3 of episode 145 of Salt of the Streets. My name is Donovan.
I'm Colin.
We are happy as hell to still have you guys here. Make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, and share this video with your friends. This segment is sponsored by Swell Blended. I have not seen the man in some time because I am growing out my illustrious locks.
Indeed.
But I have to soon because I do need at least a trim. I need something. I need to be cleaned up.
Yeah, get some layers going on maybe.
Some something.
Yeah,
some something.
Hair grows faster at a certain point when you cut the edges, the ends off or something, right?
Yeah, but I don't have any split ends, so I don't have like a reason. I don't need to.
I don't get split ends. Look at my immaculate hair.
Really healthy hair. Yeah, I don't need to trim it, and that's the last time I went. I was like, maybe just trim off the the ends if you need to. He was like, I don't really see any split ends, so you don't really need to worry about it. It's just if your hair is dry, And my hair is not dry.
No, it's luxurious.
Yeah, I washed it today, so today's a very good day.
A lot of volume going on today.
Yeah, precisely. I have my Snooky Poof. I have
Snooky
my little,
Poof. The snook.
I have the headband in. You guys can't really see it.
Oh, that's right.
There. So I don't know that I brought a headband or like a hair tie with me, but I am at the official, I've reached my goal.
Oh, wow.
I am here. Yeah. Yeah, the ponytail's
Yeah,
mad
turn around
thick.
on that. Holy shit.
Yep, the ponytail's mad thick.
I remember when it was a little rat tail.
And when I do this, it falls to the sides just like I was talking about. So
Let's get some revolutionary fucking braids going on.
Here.
I got to get you a tri-corner hat, so you can do that.
Jordan hit me with a small braid last week. I think I had like 3 twists in it, and that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
So
you've reached peak revolutionary hair.
Here.
You did it.
Just call me Mel Gibbs. You know what I'm saying? Good. Right here.
I couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it.
I'm not going to do that one.
You got another beer going on?
It's a big baby.
It's called Another Pail Bites the Dust.
Yes.
This is from a local brewery. This is from Rainy Days. No cool can, just a regular label.
I don't support Anheuser-Busch. I support local breweries.
Yeah. These ones are fine. What do you think of the other pale ale? The other pale was pretty good.
It was good.
I like that one.
I was a big fan. Big fan.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah, I like that one.
I think I had an epiphany last time we were at the fucking soccer field. I always thought Bodie's Alpha was a double IPA. And
it's just a single?
It's just a single. And the Lucille, the green can, is actually like 0.4% more ABV. And it also is not a double. It's just a single IPA.
I really like, they have a Johnny Utah Pale.
Yeah.
And I like that one
I like
a lot.
Johnny Utah.
Yeah. I wish
it's like a blue and yellow can, I think.
Yeah, they don't have any pails there at the soccer facility.
Unfortunately. Yeah, they're super P&W IPAs.
Yeah.
IPAs for the win.
The double, they have the Ride the Spiral there. You don't even have, you get all these Silver City beers, you don't have fucking Sonic Rain. You get all these Silver City beers, you don't have Sonic Rain.
But no Sonic Rain.
Sonic Rain's definitely one of their best beers. Unquestionably.
There's that fucking Nordic Angel or whatever they make.
One's
that one's stupid good too. Yeah. I like that a lot. Yep. I'm excited to hear what you think about that.
That's a super clear pale.
It's got a nice crisp to it.
Yeah, that's nice.
Producer's not doing his fucking job.
Yeah. No quick producers. No, we have review preview recording today.
That's right.
So it'll be out next week, I would assume. Those ones are usually pretty quick edits. From what I understand. Soon enough, I'll be editing my own review previews.
My gosh.
How the fuck do you guys feel about that? Next weekend, because I was like, yeah, we'll do it on Sunday, but Sunday is Easter. So next weekend, construction will officially begin on Studio 2.0.
Woo!
Like 4.0, because this studio's moved so many times. But so the next studio...
What are you talking about, bro? We've never changed location.
Yeah, the next studio will officially begin construction here very soon, next week.
Yeah, so exciting times.
Be great. We'll have a whole new setup, a whole new place, a whole new setting. It'll be great.
Yeah, and this studio is going to change a little bit as well.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're going to downsize this studio.
I think for the thing we're going to do with Spencer, I think we should make that not an episode, but like a side thing.
A special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that will be the best way to handle something like that. It will still be good content, but I don't want to replace an episode with that,
Yeah, maybe we could do that like on an off weekend at the house or something.
Yeah.
It won't be as difficult to do off weekend stuff necessarily, because we'll be at your place.
Right.
And so it'll be much easier.
And it'll be shorter too. That will be, 2-3 hours. Like that will be a much shorter endeavor. So nothing. We've been just bullshitting, Joseph. We haven't even gotten into anything yet. We're talking about a new studio comes in the next few months. It'll be a whole, I'm just about to try this new pail.
And also had to start a fire for dinner. I'm here for that. Are we barbecuing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Tell us about your dinner. What are you making and how are you preparing?
Because I'm very interested in the fact that there's fire involved.
Well, and Joseph's always slanging when he's here. He had the burnt ends like a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always doing something. Poor man's burnt ends. He's like, I'm just chopping up fucking tri-tips or whatever.
Yeah. Fucking pitmaster official of Salt of the Streets over here.
Oh, all right.
What do you think about that? It's a little different.
Okay.
Very crisp.
It reminds me of, it's very savory.
Like a turkey dinner.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes. Like mashed potatoes.
Oh. I've never heard a beer equivocated to a mashed potatoes before.
It reminds me.
Cooking steaks directly on coals tonight. Directly on coals.
Damn, Joseph.
That sounds legit.
Dude, it had the undernotes are mad savory. They're like spices, like cooking spices, like parsley or something. You know,
that's an herb, but
yeah,
we're getting there.
Whatever spices, it's all fucking.
Once it's dried and pulverized, we call it a spice. Cooking steak directly on the coals. I'm thinking that you should take some pictures, Joseph, and hit hashtag Salt and Streets on those.
Send them to us.
Do it. We know you be on Instagram, bitch.
Yeah, we'll repost them, put them on your story, and tag us, and we'll share them. So we're going to be talking about Donald Trump. Is what we're going to start with, right? We got this whole indictment thing going on.
Yeah, and the downfall of the American empire.
Yeah, I'm still not totally clear on some of this stuff. It's very complicated. It's a very convoluted arguments that are going on here, legally speaking.
I'm so excited to break this all down.
Yeah, so I read a Vox article last night.
Oh, sorry.
The one where they're like, oh no, he might not actually go to jail.
Yeah,
that's
probably not.
That's the one that I read, and that one just provided a little more solid context because some of these pundits, for lack of a better term, the Crowders and the Tim Pools, know this shit better than I do, and so they're just kind of throwing the information around and not like. And remember, we learn, and it's not they don't have to, but it's because these aren't things that I pay attention to all the time. Because I don't give a shit that much about Donald Trump. So when they're like, and Michael Cohen testified this, and this letter came out, and this statement from Stormy Daniels, and these things, like, we know these things. And I'm like, I don't know about any of that stuff.
Word.
And so I hear about that, and I don't disbelieve them, but it just confuses me further because whatever part of my brain, the retarded part, still is like, then why is this happening if we already have this information? Like, if there's already two different letters that certify from Michael Cohen that he's saying these payments weren't from Donald Trump for this thing, and Stormy Daniels has this statement that says this event didn't happen in the way that it's being described, like, how is this happening now? If we already have these pieces of information, that's where I start to get very confused.
Well, I'm so glad you asked, Donovan, because I can help fill in the blanks for you here.
I'm very much the everyman in this situation.
I like it. So,
except I'm not just like put him in jail,
lock him up.
Most people are just like, it's fine, just put him in jail. I'm so confused.
Yeah. Don't ask me what he did, but he's bad man.
That's right.
Orange man bad. Lock him up. Throw away the key.
Definitely orange.
So. This whole case that Alvin Bragg, DA of New York, is bringing revolves around business transactions.
Yes.
And essentially mislabeling transactions. They should go in column B and they went in column A.
Okay.
Particular in this case, the particular payments made to Michael Cohen were written off as essentially standard legal expenses, right?
Instead of reimbursements.
No.
Okay.
And Alvin Bragg's argument is that those should have been filed as election expenses, campaign expenses.
Right.
Because the argument of the court at this point, or his argument before the court, is that these were campaign expenses because the payments to Michael Cohen to reimburse him for the money he paid for Stormy Daniels to shut up should have been a campaign expense because it would have done damage to the campaign if this had come out.
In the 2016 presidential campaign.
Yes, in the 2016 presidential campaign.
And this is, not to get too far ahead, but this is the unspoken second crime that Alvin Bragg is alleging, right?
We are assuming.
That's what we have to assume.
Yes.
Is that there's a campaign finance thing, and that's where it gets further confusing because it's like that's actually a federal crime.
That the federal government refused to prosecute
Right.
at the time when it was brought
Right.
up. Because the court case was brought up and they refused to do that.
That
because
seems to be what he's referencing to turn these what should be misdemeanor charges into felony charges.
Yes. And because they become felonious when these crimes were perpetrated to cover up an additional crime.
Which would be the campaign finance stuff.
What would be the campaign? That's the logical conclusion anybody that tries to think about this can get to. Unfortunately, in Alvin Bragg's statement after the indictment of Trump, he said blatantly that I don't have to disclose what the other crime was,
Because
the
law doesn't
underlying crime,
require
because
it?
the law doesn't require me to do so. So
He's a real
ideally,
goon, huh?
he's a real piece of shit, this guy.
Real fucking knucklehead goon. Okay.
Yeah, and so he is assuming that he has a case with this underlying crime, which he has not been charged for in any capacity whatsoever. So,
In fact, been declined to be charged for.
by the feds. But if there is some kind of state crime, it's not in this indictment.
There's also a question of statute of limitations, right?
Yes.
The statute of limitation is somewhere between 5 and 7, depending on how it's interpreted. But these happened in 2016, so regardless, we're outside of.
Unless it is in, and it's weird because it's like he has to be in state for that time to, like, the clock starts and stops when you're in state and out of state.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the argument there. But also, if they are a felonious crime instead of just a misdemeanor,
Oh, I
the
have it right
statute of
here.
limitations changes.
There's also one more twist here. The statute of limitations for the felony version of the false records crime is 5 years, while the statute of limitations for the misdemeanor version is only 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Trump's final payment to Cohen occurred in December 2017, which was more than 5 years ago. So regardless, it's outside of the statute of limitations
Yes.
for this.
Well,
But they're still charging him with 34 felonies.
Yes. Yes. And each one of the payments has essentially, I believe,
Three or four,
the charges on top of it. Each one of the charges supposedly comes with up to 4 years, and so they're saying that he's looking at up to 100 and some odd years.
136 is
which
the number that I heard.
not how any of this
He'll
stuff works.
never do a day in jail.
No, none of this stuff is going to work.
Never do even one night in jail.
And
They didn't even take his fucking picture, dude.
I mean, they might have, but they're not releasing it.
They're not releasing his
I'm
mugshot.
assuming that standard processing, he got fingerprinted and got a picture taken, but he's never going to be. Those will not be released.
Imagine a T-shirt with Donald Trump's mugshot on it.
I'm surprised nobody's like AI generated that shit yet and put it out, because that, if you want to be rich,
The images, I'm pretty sure we talked about it last episode, but the movie poster images of him, like Donald Trump escaped New York, of,
Bro,
like him with the rifle and
those
stuff.
were
Some of the best shit I've ever seen.
so good.
Absolutely incredible. Him
Yeah.
punching cops and stuff like that, dude.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
hilarious.
Another year from now, we're going to be able to make a legit movie
That's
AI
fucking-
generated that is Donald Trump escapes New York.
That's comedy, bro.
That
I
is
love that so much.
comedy.
Yeah, him with the rifle with
Yeah.
some of with like the lean on him. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
dude,
some
that
of the
was
best
like
shit I ever
leaning out,
saw.
like,
My
what's up?
God,
The 6 fingers on the left hand.
oh, I love it so much.
So good. I'm kind of surprised they made him right-handed, just because. How does AI know whether to make somebody left-handed or right-handed? You know?
Just because most people are right-handed.
It could
you know?
be. That sounds discriminatory in my mind. But yeah, essentially that's the crux of it. He got indicted, and the next court date he has isn't until December. So that's where we're at right now. Nothing essentially has to happen until December 8th, I believe.
And they're talking about potential trial right in the heat of
Primary season.
primaries.
Yeah, but I mean, the next court date wouldn't be the beginning of the trial either.
Right.
That's, and I don't know the outcome of this, honestly, because I
He
don't
could
have
very well
enough.
get a continuance the next time he shows up.
Yeah.
Come back in 6 months. I don't know what to do yet.
Yeah, he definitely could. So, I mean, the New York City, the Manhattan court system is not exactly a a pillar of efficiency.
You're telling me that it doesn't work flawlessly?
Well, it's not quick.
Hold on.
It's not quick. We'll put it that way.
FBI paid millions to cover up for Democrats, including a Hunter Biden laptop. So how should we respond to this bullshit show trial? Okay, so also I have another question, right?
Yes.
Because Hillary Clinton, shout out Russell Brand, the Steele dossier, right? So Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation settled with the federal government for over $100,000 because they used campaign finances to pay for the Steele dossier, which they used and then fueled the entire Russiagate everything. How is that not the same thing as this?
Oh, that's why the feds refused to prosecute, because this was nothing in comparison. The most apt analogy to this situation is when, if you remember, John Edwards was running for president.
Okay.
I believe that was during the McCain run,
Okay.
I think. And he, while his wife was dying of cancer, he had an affair and a love child with their photographer.
Boss.
And so he had paid her a bunch of money in campaign finance stuff.
Boss. Absolute fucking champion idiot.
He's a fucking idiot.
Absolute champion idiot.
But no, the reason why the feds didn't prosecute him on this was because they're like, you can't prove the motivation that this was it directly affected his campaign like that, especially after the fucking, what was his name, Greg Bush or whatever, that grabbed him by the pussy tape that came out, the Access Hollywood tape. Billy Bush.
Yeah.
That did not exactly hurt his campaign.
Dude, that was wild too.
And, you know, I mean,
what a time to be alive.
What a fucking time to be alive,
time to
baby.
be alive.
Yeah. The first time in history a former president has been indicted, gone through the system, and unfortunately...
Because Grant was arrested, right? Ulysses S. Grant was arrested one time?
Yeah, for...
Like being shithoused, right?
He was drunk driving. Yeah, he was... driving a fucking horse and buggy like too fast and too dangerous or whatever. So he got arrested one time.
Boss.
Yeah. But yeah, in this case,
I freed the slaves. I'm driving out here. I freed those motherfuckers.
Stop me, bitch. Yeah, go. You go from essentially helping to win the Civil War to becoming president. Not a bad resume, if you ask me. But the really big aspect of this whole case, right, is as ridiculous as it is, if the case hasn't been thrown out yet, which I don't understand how that happens.
How it wasn't dismissed.
And how we have no confirmation of an underlying crime because he's never been charged with another crime. So I don't know where this is happening. The state of New York is not charging him with an underlying crime.
Right.
It's not in this particular indictment. He hasn't been indicted for anything other than this. So
why is this happening?
I think it's because it's Manhattan. That's what I think. I think this is the way the justice system works, right? The justice system works on a jury of your peers, if you will, correct?
Supposedly.
Supposedly. Well, it also, you get charged in a particular district and you are put on trial in the area of which you committed the crime unless you can successfully request a change of venue because you will not get a fair trial. But again, that's up to the judge's discretion. So I don't know if they're going to be able to get a change of venue. If you move this thing to Staten Island is not the rest of New York City. You move this thing to Staten Island, this thing is over and we're done and we're moving on.
Staten Island be loving Trump.
Yeah, but we won't. If there's going to be any movement in the case, I don't think it will be until December during the next hearing. So we'll see. But as of right now, that's just it. They didn't put a gag order on him, so he could still talk. He got a little bit of he got a stern talking to by the judge for the meme he posted with the baseball bat and Alvin Bragg and shit like that. And he said, if there's any more of this kind of stuff, we're going to consider it like an incitement to violence. So I would recommend watching what you do on social media and what you say. But other than that, I'm not going to put a gag order on the case, and we'll see you December. Let's go.
Donald Trump is wild. He's
a
wild
weird dude,
guy.
yeah. And he immediately went from there to Mar-a-Lago. Did you watch the Mar-a-Lago speech?
No, I did not. No, I forgot to.
It was...
I heard a bunch of clips of it.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, it was relatively short. It wasn't too bad. I recommend everybody watch the Timcast IRL from that night.
That's what yes.
Because they do a pretty good job just letting him talk and kind of giving light commentary over top of that.
The judge is a Trump hater, and his daughter works for Kamala Harris. So I heard this too.
Yeah, his daughter
is also true.
I believe worked for Kamala Harris at one point. But yeah, I mean it's Manhattan. Everybody fucking hates Trump in Manhattan.
Right.
That's the way it works.
So everybody got their hands in something.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily signs of like a huge collusion ring because his daughter worked for Kamala Harris because of the place they work, because of the place they live.
Yeah, this is Manhattan, though. I mean, the only people that love Trump are like the working class people that make up part of New York City, but most of them don't live in Manhattan anymore because you can't afford to live there if you're working class anymore.
In your defense, Joseph, it doesn't mean there isn't one. I'm just saying it doesn't necessarily mean there is a conspiracy just because his daughter worked for Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean there isn't one.
It just, I think it reiterates the unfair venue he will be tried
in like Indiana or something like that, then maybe you'd be like, well, that's really weird.
Yeah.
That's awfully suspicious.
Yeah, that's
that you happen to work for Kamala Harris.
Recuse. But yeah, if this thing doesn't, at the end of the day, if this trial continues and it actually goes to court and there is an actual trial held, there is no doubt in my mind that the way the justice system works, he will be found guilty of these things because jury of your peers, they're you try to get a fair jury in Manhattan for Trump,
for Donald Trump,
good fucking luck. It doesn't exist. But I guarantee you there will be people in that jury selection that will lie through their teeth just so they have an opportunity to put away former President Orangeface. So I don't have a lot of, and if that happens, good fucking luck. I don't know where we go from there at that point. That's bad news at this point. We're already in bad news territory though. When we're locking up former presidents or trying to lock up former presidents with some blatantly bullshit charges here, I don't know what we're doing. I mean, we've
not good.
Remember the Georgia case when Crazy Rat Chick came out and was like doing a bunch of weird shit on TV, getting interviews?
Yes.
We haven't had an indictment in that case yet. So
even though she was like, we're gonna do something.
Yeah.
Something's happening.
But even if like a grand jury recommends indictment, doesn't mean the district attorney will turn around and actually put forth an indictment.
Right.
Something that Alvin Bragg probably should have done here is that we're not going to win this case, so let's get the fuck out. But I don't know what else is going on in that situation. None of this really makes sense other than the fact that when you look at the case, you look at the people involved, you go, these people just fucking hate him. This is the opposite of lock her up. This is lock him up for whatever fucking reason. I saw a lot of man on the street interviews from the protesters out in front of the courthouse. And as per usual, it's kind of like, what is an assault weapon? You go around and people are being asked, like, so why should Trump be arrested? And they're like, well, because he's bad. All right, what did he do? He's like, he did a bunch. He's a racist, man. He's fuck this guy.
He's a racist, man. Put him in jail. He's a racist.
These people don't understand. They don't care. There's no logic in what's happening here. This is all just emotionally charged ignorance leading the way.
He says shit that I find morally objectionable. Put him in jail.
Put him in jail. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. I made the mistake the other day. Piers Morgan, you know who Piers Morgan is, right?
I do know.
He did a full-length interview with the actress formerly known as, still known as Stormy Daniels. It's her legal name.
That's her legal name?
That's her legal name. Stormy Daniels, formerly Stephanie Clifford.
Oh, I was going to say she had another name, right?
Yeah. But I made the mistake. I got about halfway through it and I was like, I cannot with this fucking void of a human. Dude, it is rough.
Yeah, I bet.
It was a rough interview. And
what did she have to say?
Basically, she's trying to distance herself a little bit from all of this and be like, I don't really know.
It's probably bigger than she expected that it would be. You
little
dumb
bit.
bitch.
A little
Should've
bit.
kept your goddamn mouth shut.
Yeah. So, but as far as like substantive conversation, there was none to be had. She had a lot to say about women empowerment and not being judged for being a porn star or a stripper, and that's where, you know, most of the intelligent women she knows come from. And I say, well, yeah, it's because that's the only industry you're in, so of course that's going to be the people you surround yourself with. So
guarantee there are some very smart women who also get paid to have sex. Guarantee there are smarter women who don't get paid to have sex.
Word.
I guarantee it.
Guarantee you.
Yeah, you'll like the way you look. I guarantee it. I fucking guarantee that's not true.
You'll like the way you look.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
So that's, I mean,
so funny.
That's the thing. Like, all the things that don't make sense in your head literally don't make sense. None of this really makes sense at all.
You guys are just doing wild stuff. Huh?
We have,
you guys are all acting like knuckleheads.
yeah, a bunch of knuckleheads out here.
Bunch of fucking knuckleheads. Jesus Christ, these guys.
Yeah, like there's other cases that are going on. We got Washington D.C. case where with the documents. That's still undergoing. Trump he kind of talked a little bit about that in his post-indictment speech. And he said, you know, they were negotiating in good faith. They did everything that was asked of them of the archives, and this is just another Trump hater coming after him. He said, let's not ask about Joe Biden and the documents being in the Corvette and all this stuff, which I'm just going to say, we know about the documents in the garage next to the Corvette.
Yep.
Somehow or other, the narrative on the right has turned into the documents were in the Corvette.
In the Corvette.
And I'm
like
going, wait.
I'm
like, what? But that's the going narrative at that point on the right.
Driving these documents off the Chappaquiddick Bridge.
The Chappaquiddick. That's where the one guy tried to kill that one chick, right?
That's
left her in the car to die.
He left the woman to die.
Yeah, and she did die, right?
He left her to die.
There you go. There's good old Ted Kennedy for you.
She did. She drowned to death in the car.
And he got away just fine. And a storied career after that.
Yeah, and then went and took a nap and did other shit.
He's a busy man.
It's really dark. The
busy
Chappaquiddick
man.
story is really dark.
Busy man. There's a movie about that, right?
It's a very good movie.
Starring that one dude.
Yep. You know, the guy.
The guy. Yeah, the guy. Okay, cool.
The guy's in it. It's a good movie.
Is it Josh Brolin?
No.
Looks like Josh Brolin.
Yeah.
Okay. You know me and the name of actors, bro.
Yeah.
We talk about movies all day. I still don't know
Yeah, it's
any
not
of the
Jake
actors.
Gyllenhaal either.
Are you sure?
I guarantee it.
And who's the Jake Gyllenhaal looking like? Tobey Maguire?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. The two of them, they're basically the same person.
You always say that, yes.
Yeah, we got Washington, D.C. case, and then we got the Georgia case with the perfect phone call of the, you know, I need you to find me 10,000 votes or 11,000 votes or whatever it was.
Donald Trump is just living his best life out here.
That's right. He's just kicking it. So, and it makes me wonder, out of all the cases that are going right now, why is this the one they're like, yeah,
what do you think
we
it's
got him.
Really? What do you think it's like to be Donald Trump?
Do
you think
fucking
he's
sweet?
Do you think he's worried about this stuff, or do you
Fuck
think
no.
that he's just rocking and rolling?
No, he's chilling. He's like, I'm not going to live that much longer. I'll get through this. It's not a big fucking deal. I'm here for it. I get lots of attention.
He's just not worried
I'm
about
hanging
it?
out in my fucking palace on this golf course. People that live there fucking love me. You know, my family's out there turning and burning. They're out there defending my name. You know, I got these two sons, Eric and Don Jr. They're out there fucking going on podcasts, you know, talking me up. Everything's cool. Down with the system. I got more money than I could ever fucking need to worry about.
Fuck.
I'm a super important businessman. I'm always fucking hustling. I'm always taking work. You know, I got this fucking hot ass dime piece wife who probably hates my fucking guts, but I got a cool kid coming out of it. You know, growing up, Barron's getting tall. That's like the big thing now. He's getting real fucking tall. Yeah, I mean, he's got a book written about him. He's got multiple books written about him. And the dude is ensconced in history forever.
Yeah.
Dude, it's legit as fuck to be T-Dog millionaire. Legit. You built a lot of fucking buildings that got your name on it all over the fucking globe.
Right.
It's cool as tits to be Donald Trump, bro. I got this big ass fucking plane that's got my name on it. I can fly
Just
anywhere I
loving
want
life
and
out
stay at
here.
my resort over here, stay at my resort over here.
Wow.
I'm making fucking deals with anybody that's got money to give me. Banks love me because I fucking, even if I appreciate my values of my properties, they're going to give me as much money as I ask because they know they're going to make money off the deals we do. It's legit, bro. So that's what it's like to be Donald Trump. He don't give two fucks. He's living his best life right now.
What a life, Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yep. And he can, rally. He's got a ton of followers that are like down with the fucking government, bro. The government's coming after you, and a lot of it is true. A lot of that shit is true.
So you think they know this? They're gonna. Well, I asked you this other day, right? Is it like, is it too 5D chess to think that the Democrats know that this is gonna bolster support behind Donald Trump? So they're gonna, so they're gonna run up these charges against him to try and get him to be the candidate because in 2024 because they still think that they can beat him. Because I think if that's what they're thinking is, that's very ignorant. It's very ignorant, very uninformed because it's not 2020 anymore.
Well, let's do this. I will say that I don't think that's necessarily a plan. I think their plan is to try to prevent him from running if they can. And then worst case scenario of that, yes, it martyrs him and it gives him the 35% in the GOP primary that'll be needed to get him to be the candidate. And in the general election, we have midterm numbers to look at. The Trump-backed candidates didn't do so well. Our numbers are, this is the way we want to do it. I don't think it's 5D chess. I think it's kind of like, I mean, if this motherfucker wants to go to town and charge his ass, then all we're going to do is benefit, because if we have to run against him, we beat him in the midterms when he wasn't even on the ballot. When he was on the ballot last time, we beat him then. I don't think it's an issue. I think we got this.
And they're just hoping he's too distracted with a court case to effectively run for president in 2024.
I think even if he was,
because he's not going to go to jail. He's not going to jail.
He's not going to jail. I think if, in their minds, I think even if he gets out there and campaigns, he still can't win, because the general electorate, the swing voters, if you will, are still not going to vote for him because they don't like the message,
they have to really,
being stuck on the fucking 2020 they stole it from you like narrative,
right?
Put a lot of fucking people off him. A lot of like swing voters or something like that. They may not vote for Joe Biden, but they're definitely not going to vote for Trump, or the Trump-backed candidate like Carrie Lake, who's just going to sit there and say they stole this, they stole it, they stole it. It's not a winning narrative, and so I think they have a lot of trust in the number of people that are diehards to make him the primary candidate, to know the general won't vote for him.
Then the Democrats have to think that this case, this narrative is at least convincing.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's not, then all of the swing voters they're counting on turning on Trump will actually support him, because they'll see that these are just nonsense charges coming against him. And that seems so silly to think this is a good case. Like, I don't...
Well, how many people do you think actually
understand the intricacies of what's happening?
Like, probably not a lot.
Right.
Most people aren't going to...
And you're only going to try if you care about Trump. Because if you don't care about Trump, then he's an asshole. And if you don't think he's an asshole, then you're not part of the group and you fucking...
That's right. Yeah, I mean, how many... what's the biggest...
Man.
What's the biggest voting block of people out there right now? The most swayable? It's suburban white women. And the suburban white women also drive all the vast majority of the wokeness in the world. I mean, they are on that tilt. The fucking suburban wine moms. They're not... I don't want to... Okay, so I'm going to use a pejorative just to illustrate a point.
Them.
Just to illustrate a point. I mean, these are the people that will watch The View and take it as fucking, fact. Like that group
news,
of people.
Real news.
The people that are like, well, I read the New York Times and the Washington Post, so I am very well informed. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Guns kill people.
The people who share stuff like that we went over earlier, and they're like, I'm informed as fuck.
Or who will get that on their feed and be
so
like,
informed,
I
like
need
the page
to,
says.
so informed, baby. And they're like, well, I'm going to sit here and type out a fucking long ass comment on my Instagram for my followers to watch.
Yeah.
That's like the biggest voting block out there right now, and they ain't voting for Trump.
There's someone that we know that's very activated about the expulsion of the representatives in Tennessee. And how
I'm activated about that.
Well,
I'm like, woo!
On the opposite side of you, someone that we know who has a certain color of hair, who's very upset about this particular thing and very activated, and we should all be furious about this. And
I thought we were expelling insurrectionists.
this, and apparently it's not like that. And this is another one. It's like this that I'm like, I don't really understand this whole thing because I don't know. My understanding.
I say we lock him up for 2 years and don't ask any questions, and we'll wait to put him on trial for trespass.
Because my understanding from the dailies is that this was a peaceful protest. That there was nothing insurrection-y that happened.
Yeah.
So should we move to that? We'll talk about Tennessee a little bit.
Yeah,
Is
why
that
not?
The Donald Trump thing, I think we have wrapped up here.
Yeah.
You know, I don't
know how much longer I can say the same thing on that one. It's all bad news. So the news of it all.
Timcast.
Timcast.com. Become a member. It's pretty sweet. 2 Tennessee Democrats expelled from State House of Representatives after leading anti-gun protests on chamber floor.
Okay.
This comes complete with some videos. Thank you, Timcast. I like the way you do news.
Nice.
This was written by Cassandra McDonald, a.k.a. formerly Cassandra Fairbanks, the monkey chick. She got a bunch of monkeys in her house. They're adorable. She's got an amazing Twitter feed because it's a bunch of monkey pictures doing
Did she
monkey
get
stuff.
Married or something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. To somebody I'm assuming is not Tom McDonald.
Good for her.
Justin Jones and Justin Pearson have were removed after a vote in the Republican-controlled House.
And that's those two gentlemen up there?
Indeed. Those are the two gentlemen there. This guy, he has made some amazing speeches. He is an order akin to Martin Luther King Jr.
Really?
He pontificates on high almost like a pastor does. And I believe he might be a pastor, a former pastor like that. But he was an activist. I think both these guys were activists that turned into representatives. But a third Democrat...
Gonna go corrupt like AOC, you idiots.
Not anymore. They're not in there no more. Jones was removed with a vote of 75-25, and Pearson was sacked with a vote of 69-26.
Because we're in the UK now.
And apparently. We spell color with a U. A third Democrat, Representative Gloria Johnson, was also up for the vote to be expelled, but survived by one vote. The final tally for her was 65-30, but needed 66 votes for expulsion because they need that... the two-thirds majority. Republican Representative Andrew Farmer, Gina Bulso, and Buddy Halsey had agreed in their resolutions that the leftist politicians broke decorum and engaged in disorderly behavior by leading a protest last Thursday, which involved activists storming the state capitol. You can see here from the video. Seems a little violent to me.
You're saying they incited this?
This was outside. I don't know if this is before or after they got into the chamber, because I believe this was a protest. Because there's a bathroom over here. I think one of the representatives tried to use the bathroom.
Yes. To keep people out of here.
Yep. So a non-violent protest, obviously. Troopers created a barricade and they were just trying to hold off what was going on. I don't think really anything else happens here, but let's see. The lawmakers had used a bullhorn to lead protesters that had taken over galleries in the anti-gun chants,
They're up in the top.
They were up in the top, and then they came into the chamber.
Okay.
They went into the chamber.
Came back in the bottom.
If we recall, if we'll keep our parallels to January 6th here.
Yeah.
They are interrupting an official proceeding because they are in session at this point.
Right.
And I don't know if this is a video. It's not a video. Fuck.
Just like there were some disorderlies at Jan 6. There were some rioters. There was some chaos.
There was some chaos. Insurrectionists,
there was also some people walking around with police in their hands. There was also some people that were kind of chilling. There were some people taking shits, doing some really irresponsible stuff.
Indeed.
There were some people just being generalized knuckleheads just walking around the Capitol also.
But yes, here's a picture of that Representative Justin Jones.
Kids, not guns.
And he grabbed a bullhorn, and while session is in progress,
even though there's a microphone there,
and joined in the chants. Yes. Let's see. The representatives. The resolutions state that the trio did knowingly and intentionally bring disorder and dishonor to the House of Representatives through their individual collective actions.
Because at this point, he's talking to the people up at the top, not the people serving with him on the floor.
Yes. He is.
Which is
he
not
is now
productive.
standing up to lead the protest.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, that's not good. You're a representative in session at the legislature.
And yeah, so you are in fact interrupting an official proceeding.
Yeah,
That is a
100%.
thing. There's no question about that.
Yeah, 100%. Let's see.
Which is what a bunch of these people in January 6 got charged with, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
Trespassing and interrupting official proceing.
Hence making it a felony.
That's what they got charged with.
Indeed.
That's for real. That's what they went to jail for.
It's just a picture of what this disorder is looking like
Because
at this
like the
point.
QAnon shaman, remember? He didn't hit nobody.
He didn't hit nobody.
Not assault. Never assaulted anybody.
Nope. So it's just, obviously you can hear.
In on the chamber.
Yeah, this is just chaos at this point. Just chaos. Boom. Person,
I have to pee so bad.
well, you better go pee. Look at that. Look at that. I fucking win. I win this round. Pearson claimed that Johnson had was spared because of racism. Because at this point, if we recall the top of the article, these are the 3 representatives in question. Only the 2 African-American representatives were expelled, and she was spared by 1 vote. Quote, "You cannot ignore the racial dynamic of what happened today. 2 young black lawmakers get expelled, and the 1 white woman doesn't vote, or does not." That's a statement in and of itself. Pearson told the reporters after the vote. Johnson had threatened a lawsuit if she was expelled and has vowed to, quote, fight this. Quote, we're going to push back, and we're going to fight this because it's unprecedented and utterly ridiculous, Johnson told reporters. President Joe Biden weighed in on the move, saying it was, quote, shocking, undemocratic, and without precedent. So there's that. We'll make sure Donovan, I'm sure he has lots of words to do that, but we'll just get through the rest of the article. The Tennessean report notes that the expelled lawmaker is not actually without precedent. Just last year, the Tennessean expelled Senator Katrina Robinson after she was convicted of federal wire fraud charges. Quote, the last time the House expelled a sitting lawmaker was in 2016 when the chamber voted 70-2 to remove Representative John Durham R. Franklin, Republican of Franklin, from the House for alleged sexual misconduct. At the time, it was the first expulsion since 1980, and only the second since the Civil War. One of the things about this, Donovan, I had to make sure you knew if you did not, the surviving member of the 3, essentially, where it was, said, you cannot ignore the racial dynamic of what happened today. 2 young black lawmakers got expelled, and 1 white woman does not. That's a statement in and of itself, Pearson told the reporters after the vote. Joe Biden felt it was necessary, along with Kareem
Get the
Jean-Pierre,
fuck out of here.
to say that 3 kids and 3 officials gunned down in yet another mass shooting. And what are GOP officials focused on? Punishing lawmakers who joined thousands of peaceful protesters calling for action. It's shocking, undemocratic, and without precedent. So obviously it's racist because of these 2. And Joe Biden said it's undemocratic, even though they literally voted on
Use
it.
democratic processes to kick these people out.
So there's that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's that same person I was talking about that we know said the same thing. It's undemocratic.
It's definitely undemocratic.
This is literally what you asked for. When you asked for democracy, this is what you asked for voting for shit. And a bunch of people voted and they kicked him out.
This is why I don't like democracy.
You don't think it's fair? You don't think majority rule is fair, you goddamn jackass?
Oh, man. And
Idiots, dude.
yes. And we remember there was that clip of, here we go.
This is Kamala Harris.
This is Kamala Harris, who has gone down to Tennessee now
She's the worst.
to talk about how outrageous all of this is. And this were some of her remarks from that day. So she's proselytizing and
Get it, Kamala.
in fantastic fashion. Yeah, today This comes from her Twitter. Today I stood with people, students in Tennessee and the Tennessee 3.
The Tennessee 3?
That's right, the Tennessee 3.
Oh, my God.
That wouldn't be silenced, and their demands for gun reform must be heard in Congress and in state legislatures around the nation. Leaders must have the courage to act. Obviously, she's not talking about the shooting that took place, correct? Joe Biden got on a conference call with the Tennessee 3, if you will. Plus, it looks like another guy. Earlier, I spoke with Representative Jones, Pearson, and Johnson to thank them for their leadership and courage in the face of blatant disregard of our nation's democratic values. Our country needs to take action on gun violence. To do that, we need more voices like theirs speaking out.
As they're democratically expelled from their own jobs, like a bunch of jackasses.
Like a bunch of jackasses. Oh, and then where's my KJP? Where's my KJP? I know she's here for me somewhere. I pulled it up earlier, and I was like, oh, no, that's the Tennessee thing. So, yeah, you got the White House now coming out in official capacity talking about how they're not talking about the shooting. They're not talking about the shooter. They're talking about the legislative process that took place to expel certain members that led a protest to disrupt a legislative session, to knowingly and willingly break the rules of the House that they ran for office to get into, because this is just more important. But we're not going to talk about why we're having the discussion on guns at this point. We're not going to even bring that up, but we're going to sit here and pontificate on high about the democratic process that took place to give me an outcome I didn't like. We did have KJB talking about this earlier, right? I was like, yeah, this is not the right one, because she's talking about Tennessee. Motherfucker. This is just not a good day for my bookmarks, man. Some shit went wild, and I don't know why. But regardless.
It's haywire.
Oh, it's the NPR one. That was what the fuck that was.
Oh.
Duh. Misfires. So, yeah, that's what's going on down in Tennessee, man. And the parallels to Jan 6 are not they're not hard to make. I mean, you got people that barged in, they're doing a protest. A bunch of people were peaceful, and then a small gang of folks were being violent. I'm assuming they were arrested. I would sure hope so, if you're pushing back against cops or whatever and stopping this. And then the three legislators that essentially turn their back on the legislative session, holding their hands, talking in the bullhorns, doing that whole thing. They got expelled for breaking the rules of the House. Something, I mean, that seems, I know decorum rules and all this shit in the House, they're all kind of ridiculous, but at the end of the day, this is the institution you signed into, that you put money, you took money from people in your community to run for this job, and then you get there and decide, I don't need to follow the rules because current thing matters too much. I get to break the rules and then not have any consequences, because just gun violence it's just too much
afterwards.
Yes. So that's Tennessee. That's what happened there.
It's rough business down there in the South, eh?
Tough shit, bro. Tough shit. And then it feel like if you're one of those people in the community that knew some of the staff that was killed, or if you're God forbid, one of the parents that got killed by the trans shooter, and then the White House comes out essentially just never mentioning your kids, never mentioning anything that happened, and you're more focused on the problems that happened in the legislature from the White House. That's like a big fuck you to them.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's Trump country, but I'm assuming if you're sending your kids to a private Christian school, you're probably not a Biden voter.
Right.
So I don't think it really matters at the end of the day to them.
Biden loves Jesus.
Biden loves Jesus. He's a Catholic. I
He's
forgot.
A Catholic.
He loves Jesus and abortion. What's up? I'm a Catholic. I love Jesus and abortion. Wait a minute.
He cares about all life.
What are you talking about? Except for babies.
Especially babies.
Except for babies in the womb.
Just only born ones.
What is a baby, Donovan? That is the question. Ask one of these motherfuckers. Okay, so we hit Stormy Downs. We hit Tennessee.
You want to talk about Ukraine?
Oh, yeah.
We're in part 3.
Yeah, let's go Let's broaden our international
doing
wings
our
now.
own
Let's
thing.
do it.
But we're in part 3 now.
Yeah, it is time.
Some Ukraine updates.
It's time officially to bring
All right.
the end of world discussions
Yeah.
to the table. Let's fucking do it. I think I actually have the right tabs up. Maybe.
There you go.
Nope,
So
restrict act.
earlier this week,
Yeah.
$2.6 billion more in additional military aid.
And if you disagree with that, you're a fascist.
Yes,
Or you hate... Yeah, no, you're a fascist who loves Putin.
that's right.
That's right.
Of course, further stressing our monetary system and depleting our defense capabilities, because it's been like almost a year since we had warnings from our own defense officials that are saying that we're not going to be able to defend ourselves.
Oh, we don't need to
So-
talk about that.
This is, of course, the federal government continuing to abdicate its only actual responsibility, which is to keep you safe. They can't actually do that anymore. Finland has officially joined NATO.
Check.
Effectively doubling the NATO border that we have with Russia.
I have
also,
a map. I have a map.
effectively doing the one thing Russia has actually effectively said.
Don't
or
do it.
Actually said, this is what I'm upset about.
Yeah. So
And
there's Finland.
The justifications for
Look at that border. Look at that border.
how this isn't an escalation on our part is really pretty hilarious.
So let's go down the line here, right? Bordering Russia, we have Norway, which gets a little funky but comes around. Norway,
Yep.
NATO member. Finland, new NATO member. Estonia, NATO member. Latvia, NATO member. Lithuania, NATO member. Belarus, on the Russian side. Poland, NATO member. Moldova, NATO member. Romania, NATO member. Hungary, NATO member. The only one that isn't is fucking Ukraine. So that's it. All the borders are now drawn. The line is drawn up and down now. Russia no longer, except maybe to the south with Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. And,
Yeah.
But they're probably more in the realm of the Russian influence, sphere of influence than anything else. But that literally just leaves Ukraine at this point. Because they've already essentially taken over Georgia. That happened during the Obama administration. I believe it was during Obama's administration. And then they've taken over Crimea, which comes over from Georgia, which happened during Obama as well.
Tail end.
So that literally just leaves Ukraine as the only non-NATO country that is bordering Russia. But if the president of the UN has anything to say about it, which he does, well, let's listen in his own words.
NATO's position is that Ukraine will become a member of
Stoltenberg?
Yes.
NATO's position is that Ukraine will become a member of the alliance,
Great.
and that position has not changed. But we know that there are at least two things we need to address to make that possible. One is that we need to ensure that Ukraine prevails as a sovereign, independent nation. Of course, any meaningful discussion about Ukraine as a member of the alliance has to be based on that Ukraine is a democratic, independent nation in Europe, and that's exactly what is now challenged or threatened by the.
Why is he
brutal
doing that
Russian
with his
invasion.
hands?
You know, he's got a funny European accent, bro. I don't know what those people get up to, but you know, everybody, Italians got this thing. Maybe wherever he's from has this. I don't know.
Because he turned away from the
It's
podium to do it.
Because
It
otherwise
was
he's gonna
weird.
smack his hands. We can't do that.
Right. That was
He's got to get
really
low and be
weird.
like, "Hey, this is what we're doing."
That
here."
was really weird.
So NATO's official stance is no, Ukraine's going to be a part of NATO, but
some
we got to
point.
make sure Russia don't take over.
God
So-
damn.
That definitely adds to escalation, I believe. So there's that. So welcome Finland, and also we're looking for, Sweden is still hanging out there. They have a NATO application that hasn't been ratified by Turkey yet. Turkey's always kind of the odd man out in this one because they have such close ties to Russia, but they're the only ones right now that they're holding out on approving Sweden. But at the end of the day, Sweden will side with NATO if there's any ever kind of action whatsoever, and it's probably just a matter of time until Turkey allows them in. But again, they're not bordering Russia, so that would be a minor escalation in comparison to Finland now
Right.
being accepted into it, which was a whole deal. But there's that. Damn, now I gotta pee. You got me started. So how do you feel about this?
I have a what does this have to do with freedom and liberty? That's pretty
Oh.
good for this. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll
just because it's
be sad to miss part of it.
it's dark. I'll wait if you want. I'll
Okay.
deliver it at the end. But no, it's like I mean, I think I'll just continue on what I was saying before. I mean, just continued unchecked monetary support for the war in Ukraine is like I said, abdicating the government's only actual responsibility, which is supposed to be to defend you, and it's getting us closer and closer to war. And they're refusing to seek peace. We saw. When Boris Johnson was still the Prime Minister of the UK, he went over there, and it's confirmed now that he told Volodymyr Zelensky that he didn't want him to accept, but that Boris Johnson did not, and NATO did not want Volodymyr Zelensky to accept a peace deal with the Russians. They did not want that. So we're declining peace as we sit, and we're continuing to drive more and closer to war. So these are bad choices. And they're willing to do it because they're never going to suffer. They're so deeply intertwined with the military-industrial complex. It's just going to continue on this way. They'll keep making money until the country doesn't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm. So what does this have to do with freedom and liberty?
Oh, well, damn it. I should have sent this to you. We weren't prepared for this.
Oh, yes, that's right. Well, we could do that after, because I have a lovely little thing about Ukraine.
Yeah, I got 2 of them. I got one for the other ones too.
So this came out just the other day. New York Times, right, was one of the only people that were actually reporting on this. But the Ukraine war plans leak prompts Pentagon investigation. Classified documents detailing secret American and NATO plans have appeared on Twitter and Telegram. First off the bat, I haven't been able to find anything that I can say were the leaked files. The only thing I've seen were some various pictures of documents that may or may not be these things. The new narrative essentially at this point were these plans were doctored, some of the numbers were changed, and it's probably either anti-Ukraine or pro-Russia group that did the leak. Now, the reason I think that's bullshit is because the Pentagon is investigating who leaked the goddamn documents. So from the New York Times again, classified war documents detailing secret American and NATO plans for building up the Ukrainian military ahead of a planned offensive against Russian troops were posted this week on social media channels. Senior Biden administration officials say the Pentagon is investigating who may have been behind the leak of the documents, which appeared on Twitter and on Telegram, a platform with more than 500 million users that is widely available in Russia. Military analysts say the documents appear to have been modified in certain parts from their original format, overstating American estimates of Ukrainian war dead and underestimating estimates of Russian troops killed. The modifications could point to any number of disinformation by Moscow, the analyst said, but the disclosures in the original documents, which appear as photographs of charts of anticipated weapons deliveries, troops, and battalion strengths and other plans, represent a significant breach of American intelligence in the effort to aid Ukraine. Biden officials were working to get them deleted, but had not, as of Thursday evening, succeeded. Quote, we are aware of the reports of social media posts and the department is reviewing the matter, said Sabrina Singh, the deputy secretary at the Pentagon. The documents do not provide specific battle plans like how, when, and where Ukraine intends to launch its offensive, which American officials say is likely coming in the next month or so. And because the documents were 5 weeks old, they offer a snapshot in time, the American-Ukrainian view as of March 1st of what Ukrainian troops might need for the campaign. So they're saying essentially that this is probably some kind of misinformation, and even though these documents were leaked, the numbers were wrong, so the information was altered. And this is all old news because it's dated March 1st. I don't
trust any of these fucking people.
Fuck no. I don't trust any of that shit. If there's somebody there's probably somebody at the Pentagon that is not liking what is going on and is on the front lines of the propaganda, because if they see this report, they know the reality of the situation on the ground, and it's not being reported in full or in, like maybe even partial truths, they probably want to make sure the American people have a chance to get their eyes on the actual situation there, because maybe we don't want to bankrupt our fucking country while this is all going down.
Yeah.
Or the thing that really strikes me is that we were done as pictures of these documents, supposedly.
Right.
Which is
Not
not
upload
so
to
that's
the actual documents.
exactly. So that right there, like how that means that somebody just uploaded pictures. So that tells you that this is way easier for this to be Russian disinformation. I don't buy that for a fucking second. I would say if they were like, electronic documents would be much easier to fake than change the numbers. And that's what it is. That's the big concern here, is that they change the numbers, and that's why this is disinformation. Or maybe it's just telling a truth you don't want us to know. That rationally, logically thinking individuals can look at the two populations of these two nations of Russia and Ukraine. Half the population fled the fucking Ukraine to begin with when this whole thing started. And a year into this conflict, they might be running out of fucking people. When Russia, who has historically just had this strategy of throwing men after, men and women at the fucking lines of battle, millions of people deep, like they have since time immemorial,
Right.
Might not have that issue. It's like if it's a war of attrition, Ukraine fucking loses.
Yeah.
Because they don't have as many people.
Just by numbers.
Period. And
the
like
amount of
not
people
by a
that
little
fled.
bit.
Right. The amount of people that fled Ukraine too.
This is why they were telling people you couldn't leave the country.
Right.
When they were like, well, I'm a trans. They're like, well, fucking here's your rifle. Get on the front line.
I'm a trans.
That was a whole deal. But yeah, that's the major Ukraine news at that point. I don't know why I'm not being able to zoom in. Why can't I zoom in, Donovan?
I don't know.
I don't know. Did we just do this last time? Can
yeah,
you see
that's
that?
good.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, anything to add on top of that?
Yeah. That's really funny. Yeah, this is an example, in my opinion, of the military-industrial complex in full swing. Billions of our tax dollars continue to flow to defense companies while we struggle to pay our bills. Every day and every additional dollar sent to Ukraine without audit is a reminder of how little the oligarchs think of us. They will drive our country and lives into the ground while making a profit, and when our sons and daughters begin to die in another foreign conflict, they will rest easy knowing they have one less unhappy VA customer to hear complaints from.
Ooh, that's dark. You said it was dark. You were fucking right. That was dark. One less unhappy VA customer to complain about. Damn, Gina. That's rough. Hey, thankfully for us, the Ukraine-Russia conflict isn't our only thorn in our side as far as the downfall of the American empire goes. Because China's out there doing what China does. The CCP out here sowing discontent, making
Peace
fucking
deals.
deals. Peace deals. Actually, before we get into that, I want to keep my YouTube running on my phone. But obviously, it adds. There's a thing with the battery that happens.
It's dying.
So I'm going to plug it in. Don't mind me, there, show dogs. There we go. We're plugged in. We're plugged in. Good. All right. Phone lives over there now. Okay. So.
Guide me through China. What do you got on China?
It's like almost where do we even start at this point? The biggest issue that's coming from the rise of China, I guess we'll just colloquially call it at this point, is the fall of the petrodollar. I could almost give two shits if we were losing diplomatic prowess on the world stage because we're not we're not threatening two nations anymore with our military prowess and putting bases on your foreign lands and destroying your entire country if you threaten to go off the petrodollar. But as a result of this, at this point now, China has risen to the point they're making deals with lifelong enemies. They're making deals with other nations to not use the petrodollar anymore. And if there is one thing that gives our current currency any kind of power, it is on the global stage, or even for for us here at home. We're not backed by the dollar anymore. We're backed by essentially the military might of the U.S. government, because we stand guard over the world's oil fields, and we have a gun to the head of the oil producing nations, aka those in OPEC that control the price of oil. And if we are no longer holding that gun to their heads anymore, they kind of can tell us to go fuck off and do what they want, and then our dollar loses value. So we'll start with that here. China-Brazil strike deal to ditch dollar for trade. Brazil being a member of the BRICS nations, like we discussed earlier.
Okay, yes.
This is a new, it's not really that new anymore, but it's an up-and-coming economic bloc of nations, right? Essentially, it's a bunch of Eastern nations. It's Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, BRICS, BRICS,
Okay.
BRICS. And it's starting to kind of expand out. It's probably going to include Saudi Arabia and Iran here pretty soon. But China and Brazil have reached a deal to trade in their own currencies, ditching the U.S. dollar as an intermediary, the Brazilian government said Wednesday. Beijing's latest salvo against the almighty greenback. The deal will enable China to the top rival to U.S. economic hegemony, and Brazil, the biggest economy in Latin America, to conduct their massive trade and financial transactions directly, exchanging yuan for, I think it's the reais, which is the Brazilian currency,
Okay.
and vice versa, instead of going through the dollar, which is how things have worked until now. Everybody had to use the dollar as the middleman at this point. If you want to do international trade, particularly in oil, you had to take your nation's currency and then exchange it for dollars, and then put that up for sale, and then the nation that bought it would take their money, change it into U.S. dollars, and then buy it. And then Brazil would send the U.S. dollars to China, who would take the U.S. dollars in return for the oil. Now it's just like, we'll just do our own thing. That's fine. And this is happening between not just Brazil and China. That was only one of their big deals.
Why were we doing it that way?
Because
we were making them do it that way?
Because after World War II, when essentially oil was king, we were the only nation that was not essentially destroyed around the world. And we were like, well, hey, we're here. We have the military might. We have the economic power. Everything goes through the dollar now because everybody's economies collapsed. Everybody's all fucked up. So this is what we do.
We'll keep everyone stable.
Yes. And so that's why, like, the dollar has emerged as the world's reserve currency, is because everybody had to do deals in dollars at some point. That's why, if you were to ask me, when Iraq said they were going to go to a gold standard, Saddam had to go. When Libya said they were going to go to a gold standard, try to make some kind of standard African currency, Gaddafi got fucking penetrated with a knife of the butt.
Yep.
I mean, this is what happens historically to nations that have decided they don't want to deal with the petrodollar anymore. But America is no longer the power it used to be. We have not projected strength like we used to be. And so this is the kind of outfall from that kind of stepping away from the world stage, if you will. Let's see. What else? Oh yeah, this is one of the main times they did this. China settles first LNG trade in yuan. So this was the first. It was groundbreaking as of March 29th.
They bought liquid natural gas.
Yeah, China had just completed the first trade in liquefied natural gas settled in yuan. The Shanghai Petroleum Natural Gas Exchange said on Tuesday. Chinese state oil and gas giant CNOOC and Total Energies completed the first LNG trade on the exchange with settlement in the Chinese currency. And exchange said in a statement carried by Reuters. The trade involved around 65,000 tons of LNG imported from the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, to Shanghai Petroleum and Natural Gas. So now you got a major oil player in the Middle East, the UAE, now walking away from the dollar and solely doing business with China in China currency. First time that's ever happened. That's a huge deal because if you're not exchanging that money in dollars, the value of that trade in dollars gets taken out of the system, right? So the value drops. Does that kind of make sense?
Okay.
And so that's one story about that. And as this is all happening, the BRICS nations are looking at basing financial reserves on a basket of other currencies.
You're saying the value of the dollar drops if people aren't using it. And
Yes.
this goes into it being
Yes.
like almost like a faith-based system. That if people are using it, then it means something. It's like a what's her name, Tinkerbell. People are using it. They believe in it. Real.
Tinkerbell? Oh, yeah, okay.
Peter
Okay.
Pan.
Yep.
Peter Pan.
I'm-
You got to believe in her, and then she has magic,
That's
and
right.
it's real.
That's right.
Right.
And actually, I think Elizabeth Warren makes a really good analogy on this. Let me see if I can
It's
find
just
that
further
one.
underlines. They're really fucking with how much this is worth, huh?
Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. Fucking YouTube. Okay, nope. Is this the one? I can't wait for you to see these stories.
There's so many.
There's so many. Grab bag's gonna be fucking lit today. Some of these we're not gonna get to, but death for the children. That's not good. So when I'm gonna play a clip here, and then we're gonna tie this into actually the devaluing of the U.S. currency.
Okay.
So let's listen to financial guru extraordinaire Elizabeth
Oh,
Warren
God.
talk. She's going to be talking about the problems with Bitcoin, but exchange Bitcoin for U.S. dollar, and this will all make sense.
Okay.
With Bitcoin, there's no thing that backs it up. And that's what makes it different. It's just belief. You and I assess. You assess the value is going to go down. I assess it's going to go up, and therefore I buy.
So it's more like this artwork,
No,
No?
because at the end of the day, I can hang that thing on my wall,
right?
and I can enjoy it,
But you
or
could
I
sell
can
it.
throw darts at it.
You could sell it.
The painting is gold. Bitcoin is the U.S. dollar.
Okay.
Okay. Except we do have something back in the U.S. dollar, but we'll get to that in a minute.
For
Yep.
money.
Sure, you can. I mean, there are features about it that are the same, but it's not the same. And look, one of the things we have to remember about there are a lot of things that come within this crypto world. So, for example, we could be talking about, instead of Bitcoin, we could be talking about digital currency. Now, that's something very different.
I think that's different too. I buy that. I accept that.
That's right,
different,
because that's a government-backed electronic transfer.
Again, the analogy still applies when you're thinking about the dollar instead of Bitcoin, because the dollar is not going to be
Right.
the same as the CBDC.
And it can be denominated in dollars, it could be denominated in euros, it could be denominated in some new language that's made up. But that
Something the BRICS
has
is
something
doing.
that backs it up. It has a government that says if at the end of the day there's a run on this stuff, everybody wants theirs out, the United States government promises there will be something to back it up. And that's what banks are about. There'll be somebody there
the
to
FDIC.
back it up. But with Bitcoin, that's not the case. And then, of course,
So, if you were to take that analogy, and now instead of talking about Bitcoin's effect on the U.S. dollar, you're talking about the U.S. dollar's effect on the world currency, the world markets. So, if the only thing that gives the U.S. dollar any power on the world stage is, for one, everybody's been using it because we forced everybody to use it, and it is essentially tied to our ability to back the oil trade.
Okay.
And so if our ability to back the oil trade and all the transactions that go on in the world in liquid natural gas and oil, the dollar essentially loses every single one of its powers. And the only thing that's giving it any kind of value whatsoever is in the debt that other nations are holding in U.S. dollars. And if other nations are holding, say, $1 trillion in U.S. debt, if the U.S. inflation rate skyrockets, devaluing the value of a dollar, all those nations get a massive win. Because if $1 if the dollar has runaway inflation, right, and it goes fucking Weimar Republic style or it goes Venezuela style, and you need your fucking wheelbarrow full of cash, that $1 trillion debt now is essentially worth nothing, a percentage of what it actually used to be worth, and then you can pay that debt off no fucking problem because your currency buys you hundreds of thousands of dollars more than it ever used to.
Yeah.
So as the U.S. has its hegemony challenged by China and Russia and the rest of the BRICS nations doing business in other currencies that are not the dollar, it loses power on the world stage, and it loses power, it loses faith on the world stage, and all the debt that people are owning, just the value of it disappears. And they have nothing but wins to come from that. The only people that lose in that situation are us. And who gives a fuck about us at this point? If China's out there making all these deals, making the trade happen in their currency, nobody has anything to lose from the U.S. losing power on the world stage.
And at the same time, we're doing this shit in Ukraine, so we're lowering our military power at the same time. And you're
Seems like a perfect storm of shit, doesn't it?
You're saying that BRICS nations are making their own currency?
Yes.
They're
looking at it.
They're looking at making a new currency that's backed in gold or something like that?
Yeah, the BRICS looking at basing financial reserves on a basket of other currencies. So the BRICS nations, or the BRICS countries, are working on establishing a new reserve currency to better serve their economic interests. The Russian ambassador to the BRICS, part of a Russian foreign ministry has stated this week it will be based on a basket of other currencies of the five nation bloc of Brazil, the Brazil real, the Russian ruble, the Indian rupee, the Chinese RMB yuan, and South America's rand. So they're looking at essentially creating a new currency based off of a balance of the five nations' currencies involved at that point.
Okay.
But again, that's real bad for us because up until this point, all those currencies had to be converted to dollars, giving the dollar value. And we're going to circumvent that, and the dollar will lose massive amounts of money. That's why when we talked earlier about the creating of the FedNet or FedFastNet or whatever that is, that the Federal Reserve trading thing,
processing system. Yeah.
all they need to do is wait for a catastrophic economic event that is definitely going to be fueled by this situation to hit, cause runaway inflation on the U.S. dollar. As an emergency, they implement a digital currency run by the Fed,
to fix
run
the
through
value of
fucking
our money
FastNet.
at whatever
Exactly.
they decide that it's going to be.
Yes. And then they might call it a dollar still, but it's economically different because your standard greenback Federal Reserve note will be fucking worthless. Only thing that'll be worth anything is your central fucking currency run through the Federal Reserve.
And they're the only ones who can trade with other countries. Like, as far as the U.S. government is the only one who can trade with the government of Japan.
Yes.
As far as shit like that goes.
Yeah.
So they're gonna
Businesses can trade between other
resources-
businesses,
right,
but
resources and things like that from the raw point, like this.
you thought Ukraine was a bleak picture, bitch. What else is China getting up to at this point?
Well, it's interesting that that's receiving such, like, it's very complicated. So I understand why it's not everyday news, but the fact that that isn't receiving more prominent coverage and that concept isn't being discussed more, it seems very odd to me, because that's just as serious as what's happening in Ukraine.
I'd say more so.
Right.
Because this is the downfall of the American empire right here. That's what the dollar loses. There's a good episode of Rick and Morty, right, where Rick essentially to topple the galactic government or whatever sneaks into their main headquarters or whatever and changes their value of their currency from 1 to 0, and the whole thing collapses. That's all these nations need to do is make the value of the dollar on a global stage essentially worthless. We've leveraged ourselves so much in debt around the globe that money's not ours. We can't just pretend like it doesn't exist or whatever.
Right.
There's no writing that shit off. If the rest of the world decides our currency is garbage, or the majority of the economic world does, maybe we keep around the certain European nations, but that's a fraction of the trade that's going on. the value of the dollar is going to collapse if that happens. And that's not good for nobody. It only goes one way, and the only argument I could see that why. So there's two worlds in this. The corporate press isn't going to report on it because it's legitimately bad, and so they're not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because we can't bring attention to this shit, because if you thought the last run of the banks was bad, it's all fucking over at that point. We'll shoot ourselves in the foot before the rest of the world has the chance to do it for us. But as far as like independent outlets, I mean, there's some people that are talking about this stuff, but it's not a culture war topic. It's not going to be getting a bunch of clicks and views because it's real wonky and you have to get deep into it. No, it's not sexy. But it's going to be way less sexy when the entire dollar doesn't lose any when it loses all of its value and we're forced through economic need to go to a central bank digital currency. You won't have a choice. All the money in your bank will be gone. You can access the numbers there, but your bank won't be doing business in standard dollars anymore. You're going to have to go through this system to get it, to pay your mortgage, to pay your bills. You're going to have to do that to buy fucking food for your family and gas for your vehicle so you can go to work. There will be no opting out of this thing when it happens. And all they need to do is wait for this economic collapse to finish. Because as more nations sign on to this stuff, it's going to happen at some point. There's just no two ways around it, and it doesn't do the media any good to report on it. All it's going to do is hurt things quicker, and I told you, bro. You thought Ukraine was dark.
Bro.
How do you feel like I feel like you're processing a lot right now.
I'm ready for the grab bag.
You need some uppers?
Yeah, I'm ready for the grab bag. I don't want a bad host. That's a lot. That's a lot.
You want to hear about Saudi Arabia cutting ties with the U.S. economy?
All right.
We'll do icing on the cake, and then we'll wrap up with something fun. How about that? So Saudi Arabia cuts ties with the U.S. for economic independence.
They really are not fucking with us at all, huh?
Joe Biden done pissed them the fuck off.
Yeah, that was bad.
I'm telling you, man. We lose a journalist, and then Saudi Arabia walks away. So in surprise move, Saudi Arabia and OPEC Plus group of producers have announced a cut in oil production of approximately 1.6 million barrels per day. While the move is aimed at achieving market stability, according to a recent report from the Financial Times, Saudi Arabia is attempting to adopt an economic strategy that is independent of the United States. Saudi's expected cut in oil production. The decision to cut oil production came as a surprise, particularly as it is lower than the expected reduction of 2 million barrels per day that was to be agreed upon during the meeting that included Saudi Arabia and Russia. So they're only going to cut it back by 1.2 instead of 2 million that they had initially talked about.
So gas prices are going to go up.
I don't know if you've noticed, but they already have.
Right.
But yeah, they're going to continue to.
We talked about this before. They're based on futures.
Yes, they're based on futures. And the futures,
assholes.
And again, as oil becomes more readily available in other currencies, why would anybody want to try to trade their oil in the dollar at this point when they can use the riyal or any other stronger currency at this point? Because that money buys oil. Your money, I need more of your money to buy oil at this point now. It's just going to add to the process. Economic independence from the United States. According to the Financial Times report, the discussion to adopt an economic strategy independent of the United States is due to declining relationships between Riyadh and Washington during the Biden administration. Last week, the Biden administration ruled out new crude prices in an effort to refill a stockpile that was drained last year. And this was only reported to be an effort by the White House to curb inflation. So we pumped all the fucking oil out of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve because we wanted to lower gas prices, and now that the rest of the world is telling us to go fuck ourselves, we're going to be fucking tapped in a second.
Right. Oh God.
So, things are going good for the United States on the global stage. That's all I'm going to say about that.
And it's just going to keep getting worse, is what you're
It's
saying.
not going to get any better. You know, I mean, some people will argue that, all we got to do is make it to 2024 and Trump will come in there and kick ass and take names and then everybody will get back in line. But I think at this point it's a little too late. And I think the Biden administration has done so much fucking harm to this country and our own security at this point. There's no coming back from it in my mind. You know, for one reason or another, you could talk about the strength in office, projection of strength, or, just priorities. There's probably a million different strings that attach to this thing. But, I mean, historically, Joe Biden has never made a good call in foreign policy. And I think this is kind of the flourishing of that. If he's the one that's ultimately in charge of all this, all he's ever done is make an ass of us on the world stage. And now the world's just not taking us seriously anymore, because why the fuck would they? We didn't do anything when Russia threatened to invade Ukraine. Once Trump got out of office, he invaded Ukraine. I mean, the disastrous pullout of Afghanistan, now essentially being confirmed to be doing the right thing after this report came out. John Kirby's up there on the stand saying, yeah, I mean, we're very proud of how this worked out. We got all these people out. It was an amazing deal. All the equipment that we left there, that wasn't ours. That was the Afghans, and we didn't lose anything. The Afghan government that collapsed the minute you said we were leaving, that one, yeah, that's all their shit. It's fine. So yeah, it's no wonder that all this is happening. For anybody that's got two eyes can see this is the path that we were on since the minute Biden walked in the fucking door. But hey, congratulations, everybody. You fucking voted for it. So on that fantastic note, Donovan, do you want to end this segment?
That's it. Part 3's over. This episode
Pulling the ripcord.
145, part 3. My name is Donovan.
I'm calling.
And we have been happy to have you guys here. Of course, remember to like, subscribe, share this with your friends. Tell everyone about it. Tell them not if they're sad, though. If they're sad, don't let them come here. You have to be happy when you come here, or else you won't make it out. That was really rough.
Was it?
Yeah, that was a rough one.
Hey, facts don't care about your feelings.
We'll
bud.
be back for part 4 in just a few minutes. It's gonna be grab bag. It's
grab
gonna
bag.
bring things back up a little bit.
Yes, we will.
It's gonna be better. We are gonna see some John Kirby, I think. So we'll talk some shit about John Kirby.
Yeah, we could do that.
And we'll have a good time. It'll be a good time. So
We'll start with John Kirby because that's more heavy, and then we'll get into the fun stuff.
that's right. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Thank you guys very much.
Bye.
Welcome to the salt of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you ready to eat everything.